Let's go drift it.
Hey guys, I'm the Drifting Dad, and today I want to give you a quick update on how things are going on my 2019 off-season build, and especially the design of the new 4-link suspension. I've also taken my Ford 8.8 rear axle and kind of mocked it up underneath the car. I put my 5-lug wheels on with a spacer to kind of simulate a brake disc. I still need to pick up a brake disc. I haven't done that yet. But you can see, in fact, here it's 5 lugs. Got one lug nut on just to keep the wheel secure. Again, like before, I set the car up on jack stands and make it as level as I can, so all the measurements to the floor are accurate as I can get with a tape measure. One change I did make, and excuse the body work, I need to address that soon, is moving the fender floor down about by an inch. What I'm trying to do here is just reduce the wheel gap, make the car look like it's low when in fact it's at a good operating height. So this is axle's obviously not up in the full position. It's just kind of sitting there in a mock-up, and I was really checking the width, which if you come here is pretty close. I think I may need a little spacer, but nothing like the spacers I was running before. And we'll see if we run these wheels or not. I may have to make some changes depending on what wheels I run. Another thing is, so this is a 235/45 17 tire, which you can see there's a whole bunch of sidewall here. I'm definitely not a big fan of how much sidewall there is, so I will be going to a smaller tire, and the tire I'm using in the modeling is a 215/40/17. Definitely a little bit shorter. It's going to look, I think, a whole lot better since this car is so small. As I discussed before, I'm utilizing the stock pickup points on the chassis to remain FD legal, so that this car could compete in Pro-Am and maybe Pro 2 if we ever get that far. It helps me too. It gives me a good design constraint as well, and a little challenge, because with the RX7 a lot of people will just build a 3-link. So instead of having the 2 lower links and then those weird upper links, they have the 2 lower links and then a single upper link. And what that does is really reduces the binding, because there's 3 links instead of 4, so there's one less basically constraint, if you will. To help me do that, I've been using a lot of Solidworks, as you see here, and basically what that allows me to do is model the whole rear suspension completely in 3D. So what I've done is gone to the car itself, and I've taken measurements off the car, and then I put those into my computer, and then I can draw new parts, brackets, links, whatever you want to, and I can cycle the suspension as well and measure angles. So I'm measuring the pinion angle at droop versus compression, like full droop and full compression. And I believe so far, like, I've gotten this design, I really like it a whole lot, and it's about, I want to say, like a 0.7 degree change. So I did not model the original FB RX7 suspension, but I want to say that 0.7 degrees is pretty good. There are probably some more fine tuning, which what I'll do is once I have everything mocked up in real life, I'll do some like validation of my design per se, and make sure that everything's jiving before I do any final welding. So going to 4 links, you have to be very cautious and pay attention to how the pinion angle changes as you go up and down in your travel. So as you go in bump travel and droop travel, basically what causes binding is when the pinion angle wants to go one way when on the wheel that's going down. So if you consider a car when it rolls, obviously one side suspension is going to get shorter, compress, and the other suspension is going to get longer. So when you do that, if you have a lot of pinion angle change when the suspension compresses or droops out, extends, then those two forces are going to be acting against each other, and that's going to cause the rear end to bind up. So what I'm trying to do is get the pinion angle change to be very, very small in both droop or extension and bump or compression situations. Obviously, this axle never had a Watts link on it, and I'm not going to put a Watts link back on it. What I'm going to build is an adjustable Panhard setup that will mount. I'm not sure if it will mount to the old Watts link mount at all or not. If I'm just going to weld right to the frame rails, we'll see. And that will, I'm going to build an adjustable one so I can tune the roll center of the rear, and that will really affect how the car behaves as the weight is transferred as I initiate a drift. For the rear suspension arms, on the lower arms, I'm going to still be running these same arms I built for myself with the Rod End Supply rod ends, and these are 7/8 rod end. I've got the threaded bungs and the tube there, the 1.5 inch tube, and then on the top, as you see in the Solidworks model, it's going to be the bent rod end or bent control arm with the rod ends on that. And basically what I did there is, because the spring will be up on the top of the axle, and the way I want to run that upper pivot, you would be running to the spring or running through the axle. So I'm just going to bend around that axle. And from what I can tell, the clearances will work out, but we'll see how strong things are in reality. Hopefully I don't have any catastrophic failures there, but it's going to be an 1.5 inch 120 wall tube as well. So even when you put a bend in it, it's still just as strong. And as far as the forces there, you're not seeing nearly the level of forces in the upper links as you do with the lower links in a 4-link. One thing I have done with the rear suspension is I've put in the bump stop and everything so I can find out approximately what height coil spring I'll need. And with this suspension, I'm aiming at like way less travel, I think, than might be normal, just because I want to get the car super low. I know that's probably against kind of what competition drifting is per se, but I want this car to look really good at the same time. So what I'm doing is limiting the travel. I think it's like 1.5 to 2 inches of bump travel. And then I'm gonna tune the droop travel based on like the shot where the shock mount, the lower shock mount's gonna be. And I'll tune that once I get the car set up based on how much roll I want in the car. Because obviously as you roll in a solid axle car, you get a certain degree of rear steer. Basically the axle needs to pivot because of the way the links are arranged. And we'll see how much I want that to happen. And I'm also going to tune with a sway bar as well, maybe even not run a sway bar. We'll see. I'm not running a sway bar in the front, so maybe no sway bar in the back will match this. And then I'm not 100% on what spring rate I want to go. I think I ran 200s before, and I may go down or up. We'll just have to see. Because really what I like to do as far as tuning with the spring is just holding the car at a specified ride height. You don't want to say like overspring or underspring a car to overcome the damper's ability or any shortcomings with the dampers themselves. You want to tune the dampers. And with that being said, like I am using a non-adjustable Fox Body Mustang shock. It's the KYB gas adjust, and it fits into an RX7 with literally no modifications. But I have been looking, I guess S13 rear coilovers are very similar to those, like size-wise. Looks like they will fit with some modification into an FB. So that's definitely an option too. And I know that ISC definitely makes the rear coilovers for an S13. So maybe I'll try those as well. We'll see. I think it just really depends on how, like, once I get my suspension set up and take the car out to test how it feels, and I'll go from there. Well, thanks guys for watching this video. I know that it's definitely been, some updates have been lacking, but I promise I'll try to do better than that with that. Hopefully I'll be able to devote more time to this car in the future. I want to get the car back on four wheels, definitely get the rear suspension in and work on the front suspension. Please let me know what you guys think, what you want to see. Maybe let me know what you think of only having 2 inches of bump travel. It's not going to be enough for actual driving. We'll see.